Hi, this is Tower from the Rocky, and in this video we're going to talk about RTL Webflow Sliders. So this has been long in the making, and this video is part of the RTLflow course where we teach RTL web development principles. And so if you want to build English Arabic or English Hebrew websites using Webflow, then I recommend cloning our free Styleguide, RTLflow 2.0. It's built on top of client first, and it comes with lots of tools, classes, attributes, and so on to help you build your RTL-friendly bidirectional website using Webflow. And so for building this RTL slider, what we're going to do is going to jump into Figma. And I will show you an example. So let's say we have an English Arabic website and we want a slider there. Typically that slider should run left to right on the English version and right to left on the Arabic version. And so we're going to rebuild this exact slider, and we're going to make sure that it works on both versions of the site, both languages. So this is basically the RTLflow Styleguide cloned. If you've watched in the previous lessons, you can just continue ahead. We have a wrapper which has a simple 10% padding on all sides, and we have this little flex box just so we can align some elements. And so let's add a slider component from Webflow. And we're going to give, let's see, what's the width here, 300 height, 250 width. So let's name this slider. And I will ignore the naming conventions in this case because this is just for demonstration purposes. We have a width of 250 pixel. You can set it to RAM, of course, as always. We have 300 pixel height, and we're going to replicate the same for the mask. In this case, I think we can actually do 100%. That's it. We don't need to do anything else. And we're going to have 100% here as well for the slide itself. And we're going to do the same over here, like this. There we go. And so what I also want to do is I want to actually show the overflow. So I want all the slides to be visible. We're going to have a background color for the slide, which is going to be D9, 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 like that. I think we have like this border, so I'm going to add a border too. There we go. So now we have those little sliders, and I want also there to be a bit of space. So the space is 51. Let's make it 48. And I won't add margin right, as you know. I will add margin inline end. Okay. And so technically you could also do margin right in this case, but I don't want to confuse you, so just use margin inline end. You'll be good to go. And now we're going to add a text inside of this, a little paragraph. All right, this is quite a lot. There's some text inside a div block. And it's going to be a bit easier to use like this. And also, yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to add another div, okay? So for this to work, to make the RTL slider work, we have to add another div inside. It's going to be slide inner, okay? And it's going to be 100% width, 100% height. And when you're building an RTL slider, you need to have the slide inner instead of every slide element. And this is where the content of a slide is going to be aligned. This is very important, okay? And there's technical reasons for this, which we're not going to dive very deep into. I'll explain it briefly. It's going to be at some point probably a tutorial about that, and we're going to dive very deep into the code. But for now, use slide inner, okay? Use this div instead of a slider. Don't just use the paragraph inside it, because that's how it's going to work, okay? That's how we're going to make it work. Then we have the arrows. Let's see. So the slider, yeah. So slider is 18.75. I want the mask actually to have 18.75 RAM. And the slider is going to be actually quite bigger because I want. Okay, let's see what happens here. Yeah, let me just remove the background color. There we go. Because I want the arrows to actually be at the bottom here, right? So let me see what happens if I put this on 100%. then the mask also gets to 100%. So if I set this to 250 through 16, okay, yeah, let's do it like this. Okay, I want to have the slider just cover the full width, and then we have the mask, which has a fixed width and height, and the slide itself is going to be inside of this. And now let's use the arrows, and I want to align the arrows, as you can see, at the bottom left like this, but I also want them to switch around on RTL. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to align it to the left like this, okay? Because I want to actually align it to the bottom, okay? So that's why I'm using this right now. Selecting the position, I'm going like this. Let's give it free rem maybe on height and width. Can have a background color of black, and you can see already the arrow is here. And what I'll do is I'll remove those two elements, those two CSS values, and I'll add inset-inline start of 0, and we'll add inset-inline end of order. And so this will align the left arrow to the left side on LTR, onto the right side on RTL. There's a lesson on it, absolute positioning. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. We're going to do the same for the right arrow. So let's make it, again, I'll put it like this, so I can have the auto and the 0%, so I align it to the bottom. Remove those parts. Let's just make sure this is good. Free rem, width and height. I'll just call it black in this case. And again, we're going to align it to the left side. That is to the start. So let's maybe say, let's give it 5 rem, and let's say inset-inline end is going to be auto. And so now you can see that I've aligned it to the start with a little bit of spacing. Maybe like this. I think this looks good. There we go. And we have the slide nav, which I will actually keep the slide nav because I think it's pretty interesting to use. And so what we can do is we can actually say, let's actually align this to the right, okay? So we'll align this again to the bottom. We're going to remove both values here, and we're going to align this to the right. So we're going to use inset-inline start auto and inset-inline end 0, just to make sure it all works fine. And maybe I'm gonna add like a, I don't know, some kind of background color, something to just so we know that this is, let's maybe make it blue or something like that. Okay, because I want to see if you have multiple slides how this will look like. Yeah, let's make it a bit more nice. What do you think? There's 10 pixels on all sides. Let's maybe make it 0.75 rem on all sides. Okay, maybe not. Doesn't do it up there. Yeah, let's do it like this, something like this. It's more aesthetics, but essentially what we've done is I've aligned this element up down here, okay? So now, as you can see, the local is English, okay? We've done now the slider, and we have 6 elements, and we're on the English local. So if I just jump through the slider, it's looking really good, okay? Now I want to simulate what it looks like on a right to left language, for example, Arabic, okay? And so let's actually switch out the main local in this case. I will delete the secondary local, and what I will do is I will actually select Arabic as the standard, okay? So here's a few things. As you can see, the slide navigation is looking good. It's flipped around automatically. You can see that the arrows have flipped around. One thing I haven't done actually, and we will do it now, we have to flip around the arrow icons. So what I will do in this case is I will add a transform var RTL icon mirror. I think that's how it's done. There we go. And we'll do the same for this arrow. And again, RTL icon mirror, there's a lesson on this. If you want to check it out. this is all part of the RTLflow Styleguide, yeah, for mirroring elements and stuff. So you can see now everything is looking pretty much good. Okay, we've selected the Arabic local, and so we already have the right to left direction set as an attribute in HTML tag. So if I now click play, if I now try to navigate through, you'll see that there's one thing that doesn't work, and that is the actual slider functionality. This is because the Webflow slider has JavaScript, which has only been built with the idea of running left to right. And so this whole slider basically doesn't work on RTL because of that. And so what I've done is I've actually written a code, okay? So if you go to global stats RTLflow, you go to rf-attributes, you have the attributes solutions that I've been talking about in the beginning. And so here, this is always activated with the RTLflow Styleguide. If I open this up, you will see we've got a little bit of a code here, okay? And so this code, what it does, it checks if the HTML tag has a direction attribute set to RTL, okay? And then it selects all elements that have an attribute set to the slider. In this case, the attribute is rf-reverse-wslider, is vslider either manual or auto. We're going to use auto in this case. And what it does then is it takes the mask, it flips it around, and then it flips around the slide elements inside of the mask another way around. So it's like a 180-degree turn. And what happens is essentially that the slider continues to run normally. We just flipped around the whole elements. And so this is what this script does. So in practice, what we're going to do now is we're going to add the actual attribute, okay? And also, we're going to go to the mask and we're going to set a direction of LTR on it. This is very important, okay? So you can see now that the slider is running normally left to right. And now we're going to go to the slide element, the slider element, slider component. We're going to add rf-reverse-wslider, slider auto, okay? So now, if everything is done right, and I believe we've done everything right, I'm going to publish this now. And we will see the JavaScript solution doing its magic. So if we now open it up, we can now see that the slider is running from the right side to the left side. There you go. And I'm seeing one little thing is that there's this little spacing on that side. The reason for that is actually because we have used margin inline and. I want to show this in this case. So with the slider, with the slide elements themselves, that's the only place where we're not going to use logical spacing, but we're going to use static spacing. Because we're turning around the mask and then the slide itself, the margin right and left essentially, so the horizontal margin doesn't need to logically flip around, right? It stays the same. So we're going to remove this and we're going to actually go up here and we're going to add free RAM, okay? So this is the only place where we do that. And I hope you understand it now that I've shown you this example. So if I reload the page now, you'll now see that the slider is running pretty well, I would say. So, well, that is actually it. That's a slider. That's a slider. So, yeah, to recap, what you have to do is you need to make sure the elements align properly. The slider component needs to have the attribute of rf-reverse-wslider is slider auto. The mask needs to have a custom attribute of there is LTR. The slide element itself, if you want to have spacing between slide elements, use the static properties. And instead of a slide, you need to have a slide inner, another extra div that contains the actual content. If you don't use it, then it's gonna look messy. And you can test it out if you don't use it. Let's actually do that. So if I remove this, you will see something happening. So on this first slide, we're going to have no slide inner. So let's publish this. Let's reload the page. You'll see that the element will actually align to the bottom, right? Because I'm flipping around the slide element and the mask by 180 degrees. And so that's why we're actually using another layer, and it kind of works like that to make sure it aligns properly. And then of course the left and the right arrow, again, make sure that they flip around using inset-inline, and same here with the slide nav. And so now let's assume you have an English Arabic website, okay? So that's the idea that I will show you now. So let's actually go back in here. Let's save this. And let's add another locale. It's going to be Arabic, okay? Essentially, the great thing about this attribute is it automatically determines the direction of the website. It checks the language, checks the HTML tag. And so if you have English as your primary local and you have the attribute slider auto applied, the slider will still run left to right. The script will not execute because it is a left to right language that we're using. As you can see now, if I reload this, it's all running normally, left to right. However, on Arabic, if we go to Arabic, and if I would publish the Arabic version and show you the Arabic version just as I've done before, then the slider would run right to left. And so the custom attribute, you actually only need to set it on, if your primary local is left to right, then you need to set the attribute only on the RTL local. So you could say on English that you don't actually use the attribute, and then you go to Arabic and you can just set the attribute here. rf-reverse-wslider is slider auto. So you can do that, and that's essentially it. Or you can just set a custom attribute on the primary local. It won't take much bandwidth, but that's just so you can understand the concept behind this code. And I hope you got value from this. I hope you understand this. I will have a link to the clonable of this specific slider, so you can try it out yourself. You can test it out. It's going to be in the description. Of course, I know there's a few other sliders that you could also use. There's like Splide, there's Swiper. I haven't really worked with them so far, to be honest. If the time comes, I'll probably make videos on those sliders, how to make them RTL friendly. But so far, to be honest, I've been using the Webflow slider only. And for anything more complex, I've just custom coded it with JavaScript. And so I think this is going to help you in many cases. If someone has a solution for an RTL slider using specific JS libraries, then let me know. Make a video on it, put it as a link in the comments, or send it to me. Link it on Twitter, LinkedIn, or send it via email, whatever. Just if you have something to share of value in this case, feel free to share it. Again, I'm providing this as a resource to the community, to other people, so they can build right-to-left websites as well. And I'm exploring as far as I need to use those things in my projects. But if you've explored further, then please feel free to share. And it's going to be the same with like the date conversion. We're going to have the Arabic date conversion video on Friday, actually. And so if you've already experimented with Hebrew dates, or I don't know, maybe there's some specific dates in I don't know, in another country that I'm not aware of. Like if you've experimented with that and if you have a JavaScript for that, feel free to share. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Again, clone this in the description. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video.